What's happening, guys? Mic check, mic check. Just got to jump on early because my my sister's coming round, so I'm not going to be able to live stream later. So I just want to kind of go over the Nasdaq, some ideas on what I'm expecting. Let's take a look at crypto as well. Yeah, Binance getting there. What's happening, JT? You're right, mate. Alright, sweet, man. So I'm going to get into it. I don't want to waste any time. Basically, it's almost 12 o'clock, right? So we've got roughly around about 2 hours and 40 minutes before market open. I'll just take you over to the other screen. So we also have yeah, so flash services PMI 2:45 GMT time, right? So 2:45 PM GMT. To be honest, I mean, flash services can affect the markets pretty dramatically. So, I mean, we've seen, you know, the Nasdaq's pretty much bleeding, you know, all of this time, you know, for the entire week, really. So, I'm just expecting more continuation to the downside, to be honest. Morning, mate. Wow, 6:52. Almost 7 PM. Nice. So let me just bring you to the daily chart of the Nasdaq, and this is where I believe price is going to end up, right? It's obviously, you know, it's going to fill this. It's just reaching. I'm just going to use one chart for this. Morning, John. Just going to use one chart for this. So here's the thing, right? So we start with the daily, and let's just take a look at the weekly just to get an idea of what's actually happening, right? So check this out. You've got this, you know, if I zoom right out, right, you can see basically right here, right, there was a low, right, and this low was swept, and then prices started grinding to the upside, right? So you say to yourself, okay, great, but there's this kind of downtrend. We've been going up and up, and then obviously this is like this really long drawn out, you know, sort of pullback, and we've had pretty much an entire bearish year, really, to be fair, right? So from all the way back, you know, at the beginning of the year, sort of around highs, so it was December and then January, you know, price has basically just been bleeding for the entire year. There's been rallies, it looks great, fine, whatever, but it's just been bleeding, right? And we finally come all the way back down here. Takes out this low, and then rallies, pulls back, rallies, pulls back a little bit, rallies, and then we get this really strong week, right? So all that's happening, really. Do we use that one? Probably not. Let's just do the low. So yeah, let's use this. So you see prices come all the way back up. It's hit this area up here, which is classed as, you know, supply, liquidity. Just pick one. It really doesn't matter. You know, the idea here is not for me to start going through all of the liquidity ideas and whatnot, but the point being is it's taken out this low and it's rallied all the way into this area, and we can clearly see there's been an immense reaction from this. All right. So this prior week, yes, like last week, how you doing, Thomas? Prior week, price came down, closed down here. Okay. So closed at 11,500 basically, you know, then rallies 750 points, rejects, and then starts grinding to the downside this week, right? So if we get rid of this, we'll leave everything else on the chart for now. So this is that low, and that low comes in at 10,676, right? So this is basically this area right here on the daily chart. That's that rally, takes out the high, you know, and then basically rejects really nicely. We sat through all of this, obviously. We spoke about this throughout the week. And then we get this kind of movement to the downside. Really strong day yesterday. So this right here is CPI numbers, and then we've got this FOMC rate announcement, and then obviously some continuation today. And I believe obviously we're going to end up down here. Right? It's the most logical place that price is going to want to reach into. The question is, what do we do with that information, right? So we just kind of zoom out. You can see the most recent 4-hour candle, right, is still bearish. So we have this kind of bearish tone. We've got this bearish idea on the daily. All right, price looks like it wants to continue going lower. So again, what do we do with this information, right? So I'm personally going to be looking for a short. Pretty much any rally for me, I believe to be, shortable. If I just zoom right out, there we go. So we can see where we expect price to end up, right? Down here, this blue line, 11,124, right? So this rally right now, and to be honest, when I woke up this morning, right, I was looking, basically, you see from yesterday, from 7 o'clock in the morning. So this is basically yesterday grinding into the close, and I'll just zoom in a little bit. This is on the 15-minute chart, right? So you've got all of this kind of grinding. Nothing's really happening. It's going through the early hours of the morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, all this good stuff. And then around about 7 o'clock London time, right, during the London Open, between 6 and 7, price starts to grind lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, right? And the move itself, it's around about 130 points. It's expected. Kind of knew it was going to happen, really, to be fair, after yesterday. Expecting that continuation and that push to the downside. So for me, it's more of a question of, okay, what do I do with this info now? Like, how do I get into this safely, right? And I was basically just waiting for any old rally to go up, for me to just basically, stick a 0.10 on there, and then just leave it for the entire day, right? Don't touch it. Doesn't matter if it goes up, doesn't matter if it goes down. We're sitting on a pretty decent profit considering the account size, and then just basically let that 0.10 just kind of move around a little bit and see what happens, right? And at the time, we're getting a little bit of a lift here, and that was around about, sort of 9:45 in the morning. It's way too early. Yeah, way too early. So I wanted to kind of see a little bit more of a continuation to the upside, which is obviously what we're getting. It's eating into this last drop, and that argument, stay on the hourly. The argument is, will it keep going another 100 points and negate this? That's the real kind of argument. I would say no, because we have this very strong momentum to the downside. Daily's just basically started. It's grinding lower. We're coming up to a time where we could potentially start to see a little bit more volume kick in. Around about 1 o'clock time is good as well. So we'll see how we kind of fare with all of that. Between 1 and 1:30. I don't know if I'm going to be able to monitor this position. To monitor the markets at the moment. Like I said, my sister's coming around with my niece. So I'm just trying to think how we could engage with this. I think probably the best thing to do, because I'm gonna have to cut the stream pretty early. My kids have got an early day today as well, so I'm gonna go and pick those guys up as well. Yeah. So we're getting a little bit of a, just trying to think best way to kind of play this for today. So we're currently at 11,260, right, or 11,268. All right, and it is likely that we get a little bit more of a pop, right? Now let's do this. Let's look at the range that we're in, right? So if we measure the entire range, right? And I guess, do you know what, to make this a little bit easier for us, I'm really not a fan of Fibonacci at all. I've never really used it, but in this instance, what I'm going to do, all right, we're going to put the 0.5 on there, right? So this is the top end. This is basically literally just from this morning, the move that we've had to the downside. Nothing more, right? I'm not measuring anything else. I'm just measuring the move, around about 100, 150, 160 points, right? From 7 o'clock this morning as price starts to bleed lower and really put some weight onto that daily candle, right? So, and again, this is a 15-minute chart, right? There is some points we need to be paying attention to. So We are currently off the lows at the moment and price is grinding upwards, right? And it is possible that we continue to grind upwards. So really, to be honest, we want to be somewhere up here. Let's just make this a... I don't want to go too nuts on the red because red is, no, crimson is really strong. Right, let's just do this and then I'm going to make it really sort of pale. There we go. Alright, so we want to be somewhere up here, yeah, past the 0.5. That's really where we need to be in terms of picking up a potential, you know, potential short. So what's the range? So you see what we've done. We've defined an executable range, right? Something that we can look into and say, okay, look, we need to be kind of working. And this is all on the premise, right, that the daily is going to continue going down, you know, that we're going to continue having this kind of bearish momentum. It doesn't really look like the market wants to continue going higher. You look at the other indices as well, they, you know, they are looking they're pretty weak. And just go over to the, you know, to the S&P. I'm just looking on the other chart now. You know, I mean, I'm expecting this continuation to the downside, to be honest. And to be fair, I'm not looking at the S&P on... I'm actually just looking at the S&P index, right? So we're probably going to gap down on this into 3850, I guess, maybe a little bit less. But either way, we're getting some continuation on a lot of these indices. The US equities market seems pretty flat at the minute. So I'm actually just going to make this red. Just be done with it. There we go. So we want to be in this range. So like I said, we've created a definable range, right? That range is 80 points, right? 80 points. So if I take a 0.10 right here on the 50, right, then I can comfortably sit through 80 points and be down £8, right, of drawdown, okay, if this completely reverses, right, and then takes out this high and then continues to go to the upside, right? I'm quite happy to take that risk, to be honest, because now that I have this definable range, I can comfortably let price move around in this range if it wants to do that. And what we're going to do, no, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put, I'll just wait. So I'll keep an eye on it. I've got another half an hour or so. And if price comes up into this range, we'll take a position and then basically just leave it. And then if price starts to run back to the downside, we're gonna focus predominantly on the 15-minute chart today. We're gonna see what happens, you know. And if price comes into this range, I'm gonna grab a short. And then if it starts to go lower, so let's say I grab it right on the 50, I'd like to see a 30-point or a 40-point move lower before I add to the position for a potential to sweep these lows and continue going lower today. All right, so I'm expecting price to continue going lower, right? That's the idea. Right, so we've got a 0.10. Comfortably, we're just gonna let it move around in this range. And this is okay. So we've got our 50. So we'll put that back to the daily. In fact, you know what? No, I'm gonna leave that. I'm quite happy to just leave that on that side of things. So we'll leave the position open, and right here, charts this the 15-minute. So okay, that's why it's showing up as a bit of a weird line. Let's make this white. Let's make this, and let's leave it like that. So right there. Okay, 11,253 is where I can add to my position if it breaks this low. If it doesn't, then we're just going to sit and we're just going to allow price to do its thing throughout this entire range. I'm not going to touch the position, I'm not going to do anything with this position, and then we'll kind of assess it if it does get up here. But for now, this is all on the weight of the daily momentum continuing, and then obviously we've had a pretty decent push from the you know, from these lows that have been created up to this point. So we'll see how it goes. I'll hang around for another few minutes and then I'm gonna have to shoot, guys, and go and grab my kids. Anybody got any questions? Somebody asked me yesterday about the Discord, so I'm going to go and check the Discord just to see. Nope, no questions on Discord. What's the best way to go about choosing a trading platform? You know, this is something that's asked so many times. It's a tricky one, and I'll tell you why. Because depending on where you are, will depend on how you're able to trade. So the US, for example, I mean, they're really sort of difficult when it comes to cryptocurrency, right? And it can be quite a challenge to be able to, excuse me, quite a challenge to be able to, sort of engage with cryptocurrency in the US. Things like forex, stock trading, and so on. Not so much. It's quite simple to just open a simple brokerage account. Depending on, you can even do it with your bank, really. To be fair, it's not that difficult. But what I would do is I would look at some of the major brokers. The major brokers like IG Index, major brokers like Interactive Brokers. I know there are some sort of retail brokers like Thinkorswim, Robinhood, which I would avoid completely personally. What's the other one? eToro, these types of things. But they're not really the kind of brokers that allow you to trade the way you want to. You've got to look at commissions. You've got to really, really look at commissions and try to work out, based on your trading style, whether it's even going to make sense for you to be, using that particular broker, right, with commissions that are absolutely insane. So if you're a scalper, for example, you're getting in and out of the market really, really fast. The last thing you want to be doing, right, is entering positions, quickly, 10, 15 trades a day, for example, right, when your commissions are through the roof. You want to avoid all of that sort of stuff, right? So again, I can't specifically tell you. I mean, I use IG Index. I've used them for years. They're a great broker. But I'm a spread better. I can use a spread betting account over here in the UK. I use it specifically because I want to basically, trade tax free. It's not my main source of income, so I'm quite happy to be able to do that. Whereas some of these other brokers in different countries, they don't allow that. Also, just make sure the broker's regulated. It can be appealing, I guess the word is, to use a broker that is regulated offshore. Some brokers are regulated in Cyprus, especially FX brokers, because you can get, larger leverages, the Isle of Man, I believe, or Isle of Guernsey, is quite lax in the way that they do business and so on, so just make sure that they're regulated, make sure that the commission structure makes sense for you and your particular style of trading, make sure that the charting is simple and easy, and don't worry too much about using all of these fancy indicators, unless you want to. Some of them are really, really cool. Also, does Mac or PC matter? You're better off with a PC, to be honest. I've got both. I've got just a little MacBook Pro. I've had it for quite a few years, and it's still pretty good. For me to be able to load up MT4, for example, or use a trading platform that is designed for Windows, I have to use Parallel, something like that, or CodeWeavers, to be able to basically run a Windows-based application on the Mac, which is a massive headache, to be fair. It's just pointless. So if you can kind of avoid Macs, for the trading side of things, I think it's better, to be honest. I've always preferred PC for trading.